But there were those obstacles, and the major obstacle, of course, which we're still facing right now, is that reggae music has to create its own industry, you know, within itself. Like you have the pop music industry, you have the R&B industry, you have the rap music industry. You know, as Cartel pointed this out, very, very, very true. It needs to create its own industry. And the only example we really have of that is with Bob, in the way that Rita, through her insight and her foresight and focus, has turned Bob Marley into a brand, which means that he will live on forever, not just within Jamaican culture, universally, because you have Bob Marley shoes, you have Bob Marley Rizzlers, you have this, that and the third, you know? And that's what we want to create with the rest of the music. Where does... Because everyone loves reggae music, you know that, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Straight.
Definitely. You know what I mean? Now, help me create this picture, because I want people to be able to follow your career and the journey that you came on, because you were also one of those artists that I would say, and many would say, defy the odds as well. Right? When the history books are written with live dance hall artists, Dominick will be in that book. Now, at the height of your career on live sound systems and the clashes, first of all, let me ask you this: what was your most memorable sound clash?
It'd probably have to be some of the gyro clashes, really. You know. I think one of the most memorable clashes that I got a one talk on the mic of, but that was really early on in the dance, years ago, but is an English dance, and that's when Saxon played Coxon at People's. But generally speaking, the clashes was, I remember Stereo One playing gyro at Skateland. I chatted on gyro there, and gyro against Stone Love, Silverhawk.
Wow.
You know, those dances there, they were classic.
So did you get like good airtime, or is this a one song here and a one tune there?
What when you actually
when you got the sound? Because a couple of times you referred to it as getting a one talk.
No man, I mean you'd have to be quite forceful sometimes, you know. That's why I think it changed to the dub plate thing. You'd have to be a little bit aggressive sometimes.
But on Metro Media it was given. On your sound system, Metro Media, you always got the mic, right?
Well, sometimes you had to sort of push your way around for it. Peter was in New York or whatever, you had to, you know, stick out. But no, pretty much on Metro Media and on gyro. That was our mic.
That was your mic.
Yeah,
some of the other sound systems that you DJ'd on, Stone Love?
Stone Love wasn't really a sound system that carried DJs. We'd go along there and they'd have a point where they'd bring down a few in what you call star time, you know what I mean?
Right.
Jammies, I DJ'd on Jammies, obviously. Come to England with Jammies.
Talk to me about that. What I really want to get from you is the true Dominick story. I want the people who are viewing to actually feel what you went through in your career.
Well, when we come to England with Jammies, to be honest, it was a wake-up call, because up until that point, pretty much as you've said, things in Jamaica were pretty easy. And it was the first time I didn't really get a good reception in a dance. There was a dance in Nottingham and there was a dance in Reading. And there was a lot of rivalry between the DJs on the sound, who was going to be the star of the tour.
Who was the DJs at that time on the tour?
The tour was starred by a DJ called Lecturer. He was an unknown, and that's where he made his name. And quite a few people had resented that. And I didn't really get that much of respect from the crowd. I think a lot of the community, the black community in Great Britain, felt that I'd been given an easy run in Jamaica as a little novelty, and they weren't just going to ball forward for the sake of it. I had to prove something to them. But fast forward a couple of years from that, at the One Love show in West Linford Christie Stadium and various other dances, and I proved that, you know what I mean. And to be honest with you, in hindsight, I wouldn't have had it any other way, you know what I mean. I think it's good that they sort of kept me on my toes. Go back to Sax and check the guys down at Overcliff Road, and they say, boy, well, you know, it's just like the flavour of the month. Now, if I didn't have that, and they were just, you know, and I'd go back to Jamaica, it wouldn't have kept me like reinventing myself, constantly trying to write better lyrics. As I said, with any artist, anyone who's creative, you've always got to try and do better. So, you know, I wouldn't have had it any other way, but the Jammies tour of England didn't go that well. And after the dance in Nottingham, I left that dance and I was gutted. And I went home and I told my mum, I said, listen, they didn't really like me, you know, and all of that. And I looked in myself and I thought, well, what do you expect of them? As you said, they probably think you had an easy run in Jamaica. So I sat down and I thought about this thing proper. And you got to come with a strategy and a plan of attack. And I missed the dance in Birmingham. And I didn't link up with a man then. And I took a cab straight from here, because this is where I live, Ladbroke Grove. I went out to the Uppercut in Forest Gate. And, you know, I went down well at that dance. We smashed it. It's on a video. You know what I mean? Everyone was there, the whole crew and that. But up until that point, you know, I was like, oh, like, you know, like, you come back to England. And for a little while, I was kind of reluctant to even come home and think of even doing shows, because I was getting very, very good New York, Miami and that. But then, you know, as you get older, you want to sort of, you know, you don't want to play the team you can always beat. You want to challenge.
You want to challenge.
You know what I mean? So we kept doing that still. And, you know, I know a lot of people in the business, like a comparative note with hip-hop would be like Eminem, who's made a lot more money than I've ever made. But I'll tell you what, I've had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah, a lot of fun, and that's what I was one of my next questions. The fun, the energy. You told me that Peter actually taught you how to approach being an actual DJ, right? I spoke to, when speaking to Peter. Peter speaks very, very highly of you.
Yeah.
You know, as me and Dominick, you know, and he also said that you hold it down for him when, you know, as far as Metro Media goes, when he was on touring, because obviously he was touring before you were.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
He speaks of some of the clashes, some of the great clashes where he would say, you know, him and Dominick, rush that sound there. You know what I mean? Or the sound rush him and Dominick and so forth, right? When it's all said and done, right?
Yeah.
What is your greatest memory of that whole sound system era that you were a part of?
I don't know. I mean, like, you'd probably think it'd be like the big events, like the sun splashes, the stings, stuff like that, or the big dances. But it isn't that. Sometimes it's just little. You can remember little dances, like in an old bar downtown or something.
See.
And like, I see people nowadays, like Soul Jazz or these other people, they put out all these books on dance, and there's a real fascination in the whole culture and that whole era in the 80s. Honest Johns and all of them put out all these records from that time. And it makes me smile that I was actually there, straight, you know. And I mean, as you say, like, you know, I've been quiet in the music for a little while. I've got some bits I'm doing, but the main thing I'm concentrating, which has been a project that's been ongoing for about 5 years, because it has to be done correctly, without being done on a level that's stereotyping people from Jamaica or black people. It's a book basically about the area I lived in, called Concrete Jungle, and it starts out with the history, the political background, the 72, 76 elections, how everything changed in Jamaica when Michael got involved with Fidel. It traces all of the history. I've done an immense amount of research in this, and then it comes through to why I wanted to go and live in Concrete Jungle in Arnott Garden. You know, I wanted to be a bad boy, and then I realised that the real bad boys, the real tough guys, were the ones that actually didn't pick up the guns, that didn't resort to political violence, that held it down, that looked after their families, even though everyone around them was going completely berserk. And like, it tells a story through me DJing on sound systems like Metro Media and Bionic, which was like was Ray Symbolic, passed down to his brother Wally Bionic. And those were great days. Wally Bionic. Wally had valve amps. He could lick out the windows and, you know, crystal sound. But he was a complete alcoholic, and he, you know, bless him still, didn't know how to run a business. But we had a lot of fun, me, Thriller, Dickie Rankin, chatting on all of the sounds, you know.
What do you think about the whole, because you said that...
So the book continues about that and traces all that, and then it comes through and it talks about the rise of people like Bogle, talks about what happened to Willie Haggard, talks about people like Ratcliffe and all of that, and Bob Marley when he got shot and everything. It's about 150,000 words. I've been in contact with my people in Jamaica because we're going through various parts of it. I'm probably going to put it out myself, but that's the main project.
That's what you've been working on for like the last 5 years.
Yeah. Well, not that alone. I mean,
among other things. Well, now let's talk about what we didn't get a chance to talk about: the recordings.
All right.
You know, the numerous recordings that you did. You had some good ones that came out, really shocked the world. Some of them that, you know, you can be in Jamaica now on a Retro Tuesday with Zip FM and still in hear Dominick being played. So you did get a few hits in there. You weren't only a live sound artist at the time. Talk about some of the hits.
Right, well, Who Said Dominick Favour Boy George, which is probably my most famous tune, in all fairness, was built off a style by Admiral Bailey and Josie Wells called Who Said He Had More Teeth the Ballot Box. And I used to go and visit a DJ called Early B in Cockburn Pen, and his kids always used to say I look like Boy George. So I said, Who Said Dominick Favour Boy George? And I DJ'd it one night at a dance in Montego Bay, gun salute, everything. I was like, right, I better do that in the studio. So I recorded it for George Pang, but the rhythm wasn't really that hot. So I went and done it for Jammies. Immediately doing it for Jammies, I went to see George because he's probably one of my closest friends, and said, listen, I've just done it for Jammies. He wasn't too happy, but our friendship's bigger than that. And after that, Jammies wanted an album. I recorded Year in Jamaica, which I was quite pleased with. The album, apart from 2 or 3 other tracks, I think it was pretty rushed. And I'm kind of glad that, you know, it didn't get us promoted as much as maybe it could have done. Then done a tune for Winston Riley called Marga Champion, which sold relatively well. Had a bit of a hiatus, if that's the word, from the recording business until I came back to London in '91, and I recorded some tracks for John and Chris from Dub Vendor. I've done a tune called Glad She Resigned about Margaret Thatcher. That sort of established me back in the market in England. I've done a track with a DJ called General Levy called Pump It Up, which wasn't a big hit for either of us, but Levy was one of the hottest. He was the hottest DJ in England at the time, so it kind of established me in England. Then done a tune called Any Rhythm with some friends of mine from round here, which was a hip hop reggae collaboration. That done very well, and we released that ourselves. Then I went back to Jamaica, recorded some stuff for Penthouse, which to this day it's not come out. Well, that's just how it goes. And
any thought of going, you know, taking another spin at it? Any thought of making an appearance on a live sound system every here, not here and there, or
yeah, are you just? I mean, I sort of stopped. Sunsplash '95 was sort of the last big show I done in Jamaica, and I came back to England.
Listen the blackie, listen the whitey. Patois is the language of the Jamaican, but in England them talking a different fashion. Well, listen the manica, bubble up on their version. Listen the manica is the true white man. Sweet is not what's yet, but what's the situation? Alright, Derek, mate, have you been here long?
And, you know, family ties and stuff like that. And I was doing my own little magazine at the time. I was doing other things. And then they had about 2002, 2003, Echo Minor come to see me, and he was like, listen, what are you hiding for? What's going on? And we went and done some specials, and we hung out for a little while, and then he went up to Birmingham, and then we went and done some shows. Got a phenomenal response at all the shows.
Wow.
And and I thought, you know what, Dom, you need to go back into this. So I started recording and doing shows with some UK hip-hop artists, people like Skinny Man, white kid who's very, very talented. Put out a track with me and him on my own label. Went up and down, done a few little bits and pieces. Never really got into the jungle, the drum and bass thing. Just didn't really feel, I weren't really feeling that. Neither the garage thing, I just, reggae music. And then I recorded for Chris Peckins, that must have been about 2005 or 6. And done a tune called White Veteran, that was on a Scatterlights rhythm. And he had Tipperary and Top Cat and other people on the rhythm. That sold fairly well.
So for the most part, you've been keeping busy.
Relatively, I wouldn't say busy because it's not like I've I've been doing loads and loads of shows and loads of specials and and everywhere. But every now and again, I'll do something just to let people know that you're still around. Yeah, we're still about. Like I've done a tune for Pick Out on the Taxi rhythm. I like to do it like that. Sort of keep myself as a little bit of an enigma, so to speak, you know what I mean? So, I'm not going to jump up on every little thing that's happening still. But
any regrets with the whole industry? Are you one of those artists that feel maybe like the industry hasn't given you the proper respect in the marketplace as they should have? Are you one that feels maybe that you might have been slightly overlooked for your contributions? Or are you just cool with the fact that, it is what it is?
Do you know what? Maybe if you'd asked me that question 5 or 10 years ago, I would have answered it to say that pretty much, I feel that what you're saying is right. But you have to look into things on a long term, and you have to take a different look on things. It's not all about, as I said, there was a time when everyone was getting signed up by Sony. Maxine, Sugar Minot's baby mother, was signing everyone. Super Cat, this one, that one. I was like, whoa, what about me? And then I've seen what's happened to all of those people down the lines.
So maybe it was a good thing that you didn't get signed.
I've also seen what's happened to DJs that have had a consistent flow of recordings released. Everything they've recorded has been released.
Right.
And then I've seen what's happened to myself, where there's recordings that I've been heartbroken that they haven't been put out.
Right.
And then I've seen, well, actually, in some ways, that's worked to my advantage, because I went back and I'd done a big show in Jamaica. I'd done a load of shows in 2008. I went back 2009, do shows. But I'd done a big show, not a Heineken Star Time, not a veteran show. Same bill as people like Mavado, Bugle, all the hot artists at the time. I'd done a show for Dudas at West Kingston Jamboree. I'm not going to say nothing. People look at the video, see the...
We're able to see what's going on.
You'll see what's going on. Now, at that point, I had no video, I had no mixed CD, I had no records, I've never signed a contract, I've never even made a video. So all I got is me.
That's what it
my
is.
Name. So I went up there and done that. As far as I'm concerned, I don't have to prove nothing to nobody. Financially, I think we'd all like to be better off. But,
before we close, Dominic, I gotta ask you this: favorite sound system
of all time?
Of all times.
Jalov.
Jalov. Favorite artist of all times?
What, DJ?
Yeah.
Well, the DJ that inspired me to become an MC was Brigadier, and Jalov, because it was Jalov just up there at Acklam Hall. People were passing out, fainting, the whole dance was packed. I was a young piece of youth. I went up there and I heard him, how he used to do, just rolling his tongue. I was like, I want to do that.
We're here with a veteran. It's Dominick. Metrometer sound system, Kilimanjaro sound system.
That's it, yeah.
So many other sound systems. Before we take you out though, give us a piece. Dominick, what you used to do, or what you're still doing.
This one's for Jamaica, okay? Maybe I never visited you half as much as I was supposed to do. Maybe I never made that trip I was caught up in some bullshit. Watch how me I sing. Holidays I should have taken. Yeah, right. I just never made the time. You are always on my mind. Jam down is always on my mind. One love, yeah? One up.
Nice. Ignorant Nicholas, me come to make some dollars. Ignorant Nicholas, me come to make some dollars. Holler out to dinner like George Bush. George Bush ain't just too stush. Holler out to dinner like George Bush. George Bush no one can just to push. Popsy out, tell me what I want, me say